Before we start, tag a Virgo you know, because what I'm about to say might explain everything they've never been able to put into words. Seriously. Don't just watch this alone. Share it with the Virgo who keeps pretending they're fine when they're actually falling apart in complete silence. This message is for them. Virgo is famous for being organized, rational, controlled, calm, and almost superhumanly put together. But that's the version of Virgo the world thinks it knows. The truth? The moment Virgo actually loses control is the moment nobody expects, and nobody recognizes. It's quiet. It's internal. And it's almost invisible unless you know what to look for. So today, I want to take you deep inside the mind of a Virgo who has reached their breaking point. Not the movie version of a breakdown. Not the loud explosion. Not the dramatic meltdown the internet jokes about. No. A Virgo losing control looks different. It's subtle. It's clean. It's quiet. And it's terrifyingly efficient. Because when Virgo loses control, they don't fall apart. They shut down. It begins at the moment Virgo realizes they've been carrying too much for too long. They collapse not because of one big thing, but because of 100 tiny things they kept telling themselves they could handle. They're the type who carries more weight than they should, accepts more responsibility than they admit, and quietly absorbs the emotions other people leave behind. They hold everything together because they believe they're supposed to. They believe they should be the strong one. The reliable one. The one who gets it together even if nobody else does. But then something shifts, subtly, internally. Their routines stop working. Their effort isn't enough. Their plans aren't holding. Their logic isn't saving the day. And worst of all, their calm exterior starts to crack under the pressure. This is the beginning of the silent collapse. And it's called silent because Virgo doesn't warn anyone. They don't announce that they're overwhelmed. They don't say they're exhausted. They don't admit that their mind is spiraling. Instead, they retreat. They withdraw emotionally, mentally, and sometimes physically. They quietly step back from the world, not because they don't care, but because they care too much and they're terrified of showing the mess they've been hiding so well. This is where Virgo transforms into what I call the inner critic unleashed. Normally, Virgo's critical eye keeps them sharp. It helps them improve or organize or solve problems. But when Virgo loses control, that critical lens turns inward, brutally, relentlessly, and without mercy. Virgo becomes their own interrogator, their own judge, and their own executioner. They replay every mistake. They overanalyze every detail. They magnify every flaw until they're convinced everything is their fault. And the craziest part? They do all of this with an expression that looks completely calm to the outside world. If you look at them, you'll think, wow, they're handling everything so well. But on the inside, they're sinking. This is the paradox of Virgo: the more they lose control internally, the more controlled they appear externally. People often think, Virgo is being distant. Virgo is being cold. Virgo is being difficult. But no, Virgo is protecting their vulnerability with precision, the way someone quietly hides a wound to stop the bleeding. When Virgo loses control, very distinct behaviors appear. The first is the hyperfunctional shutdown, where Virgo becomes almost robotic. They move, act, and work like a machine. No expression. No emotion. Just task after task after task. It looks productive, but it's actually dissociation, an escape by precision. Then comes the sudden disconnection. Virgo pulls away not because they don't want connection, but because they're afraid of being seen in a moment of imperfection. They stop replying. They decline invitations. They vanish into their thoughts. Their silence is not rejection. It's self-protection. Next is the razor-sharp honesty. When Virgo is losing control, their filter disappears. They say exactly what they think, sometimes too bluntly, sometimes too logically, not with anger, but with a precision that cuts deeper than shouting ever could. Then comes the over-control spiral. They try to regain order by controlling small details, cleaning obsessively, rewriting plans, rearranging routines. These aren't personality traits, they're coping mechanisms in the middle of internal chaos. And finally, the self-blame storm. Virgo doesn't blame others. They blame themselves, intensely. They take responsibility for things that aren't theirs. They assume they should have done better, even when they had nothing to do with the outcome. Here's the heartbreaking truth: Virgo loses control not because they're weak, but because they've been strong for too long. They've carried themselves and everyone around them. They've solved problems nobody thanked them for solving. They've held emotions that weren't theirs. And they've tried to be perfect in a world that doesn't reward perfection, it punishes it. So how does Virgo heal? What is the antidote to the silent collapse? It starts with one shift: permission. Permission to be human. Permission to be tired. Permission to be wrong. Permission to not have the answer. Permission to ask for help without feeling like a burden. Virgo heals when they realize that perfection isn't the requirement for love, respect, or belonging. They heal when someone looks at them, not at their achievements, not at their competence, not at their usefulness, but at them, and says, "You don't have to do anything to deserve rest." Virgo heals when they stop believing they have to earn the right to breathe. And if you're watching this as a Virgo, hear this: you don't need to be perfect to be worthy. You don't need to be composed to be loved. You don't need to be strong to be accepted. You don't need to have everything under control to be enough. Your softness is allowed. Your confusion is allowed. Your vulnerability is allowed. Your humanity is allowed. You've been carrying everything for so long that you forgot what it feels like to be supported. So let this be your reminder: you deserve support, too. You deserve space to rest. You deserve moments where you fall apart without shame. And you deserve people who stay, not just when you're composed, but when you're cracking. Virgo losing control isn't the end. It's the beginning of learning how to be real, not perfect. Whole, not polished. Human, not flawless. And now, before you scroll away, do me one thing: tag a Virgo who needs to hear this. Send this to a Virgo who hides their stress behind a smile. Share this with the Virgo who never asks for help but desperately needs it. Because if you don't, they'll keep suffering in silence. Let this be the message that reaches them.